You know we be with it, we off in the hood like some wizards. Nobody ever gave us anything. Meant something from nothing, just like magicians. Gotta relearn everything. Just to remember that I was forgetting. Just to remember that we had a vision. Did it all, don't know how I did it. Time to go kill season to go and you know those crystal truths. Let them know we in here, yeah, we in the building. Star season to go and you know those crystal children. Back up in the matrix, yeah, we know the vision. Star season to go and you know those crystal children. Let them know we in here, yeah, we in the building. Star season to go and you know those crystal children. Back up in the matrix, yeah, we know the vision. Off on the mission, you know how it goes. Off in the system, they turn up their nose. They took all the soil, but they didn't know. Through the concrete, you see the ropes. Eyes ain't open, don't mean I ain't woke. Ain't got no cash, don't mean that I'm broke.
Welcome in. Let's join the raw experience, the raw expression. Let's dive into the unknown and create the known. Not just make it known, but create the known. That's our purpose here in this duality, is to create, to find out as much information as we can, to make discernible decisions about what we want, what we don't want, what we like, what we don't like, what we need, what we don't need, and then create. And Ra, they've come to give us cheat codes if we want them. They're not doing it behind the sly. They're not tippy-toeing around it. They were given permission by the divine, that is them, saying, hey, we want you to succeed. We want you to know what you need to know, as long as it's not usurping your free will thought or choice to do. We're going to give you the information. You're going to grow and you're going to expand. You're going to take an infinite morsel of seed and you get to plant it. Not someone else. I've been there, done that before, trying to plant seeds for everybody. All it does is make me nuts. I don't need any help in that department. So now I give the seed to you. You take what resonates and you leave what doesn't. And that's all Ra is saying. Ra is asking, or Ra is allowing the questions to be asked as the questioner asks it. Reminding the questioner what works and what doesn't work with free will. And then you get to do the rest. So are you ready? Are you ready to dive into the unknown and create from what you know so that you can dive some more and create some more unknown, making it physical, contacting with it? Are you ready? I'm ready. We're almost finished with book 3. I'm ready. Are you ready, Marcus?
Boy, do I know I am ready. I am big time ready for us to continue in this journey of exploring the raw material law of one. And I gotta say, what a wonderful, intuitive book study this has been together on this journey. Episode 80 is where we are today. And we've been really diving deep into so many different facets of our multidimensional universe, from universal laws to structuring of the universe, the different dimensions, polarity, how to navigate as a human being through this universe as well. And we've even touched on different souls, such as Adolf Hitler, just Jesus or Yeshua, as well as many other figures as well. So it's been such a journey. We've had so many correlations, so many overlaps that we have studied throughout this process as well. And as Sandy always says, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And before we deep dive into episode 80, let's go ahead and take a recap to last week and where we left off on 79.
Go and you know those crystal trips. Let them know we in here, yeah, we in the building. Start season to go and you know those crystal
Turns
trips.
applied by man to that which transcends names and terms. Ooh,
Ooh.
that is the Kabbalion, Hermetic philosophy. For anybody that likes to read the Hermetic principles, the universal laws,
This question for the questioner has come up a lot in all of the books so far. I am Ra. This will be, slow my road. This will depend upon the plan which has been approved by the Council of Nine. Some wanderers, slow it even more. Some wanderers.
So this is ascensionglossary.com, and this is talking about the third chakra, which is the solar plexus, the yellow energy center. So just briefly here, it says it governs our third dimensional identity structures. The 3D identity structures are the sixth chakra, the third eye, which is the sixth dimensional indigo ray. It is located directly between the eyebrows at the top of the nose. And then it is the direct connection to our light body access.
Deep, 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 deep. Deep, deep. Okay? So you get to take what resonates for your highest and greatest good. Ra is only sharing this information because they want to give you some of the cheat codes. And guess what? The divine of everything that is and is not said, let it be so. Go ahead and give them the cheat codes. I am Ra. We ask your persistence. We ask your persistence, patience, for our answer must be complex. A construct of thought was formed in time-space. This portion of time-space is that which approaches the speed of light. In time-space, at this approach, the conditions are such that time becomes infinite and mass
making
ceases.
vertical channel adjustments through the Sophionic body template that can affect the subatomic, atomic, and molecular levels of the physical body and the matter realms. Interesting. And I'll leave it there as it talks about matter and the form in the third dimensional realm with the connection of the light codes. And with that, that was episode 79 of last Wednesday. And now we are currently on episode 80 of this Raw Material Law of One book study. And as Sandy was reflecting with us a moment ago before this episode began, we are very, very close to the end of book 3, which means we will have officially 2 more books left of this Raw Material series. And we'll be on book 4 here pretty soon with you guys. So thank you guys for joining this journey. And we appreciate all of your likes, the subscribes, the shares, the spreading of this knowledge, and this ripple effect of the Raw that we are coming into contact with. So thank you guys. Thank you, Raw. Thank you, Sandy. And back to you.
And as we ended the rewind of last week, it talks about the light, like codes. And the divine had me open up the Divine Design, the book, before we start reading Raw, to chapter 3.2. And it was called Light Codes. It is called Light Codes. This is a channeled book through Lori Ladd. So the divine channeled. Once we created the intention, we moved in these intentions into the 12D light codes energetically and telepathically. The light codes are what create the physical form. Remember, light codes are high frequency. They're high frequency light that holds intention and information, allowing the creation of new realities, new forms, and new experiences. The codes shift or alchemize into different frequencies depending upon the intention placed within them. Once the intention of the human form were placed within the light codes, we began to shift the codes down from 12D frequency to the 5D frequency to create the physical human form. To create the physical human form in 5D. Because this all started at 5D. And then we took a trip down to 3D. That's what the divine wants you to know, is that you are on an experience. You are on not just a raw experience, but you're on the journey, the experience, the expression of a lifetime. All in the now. And that's all Raw is trying to get to you, is they're giving you these cheat codes so that you can be focused on the now. Your now. And your now, and your now, and your now, and your now. And you're now way, way back there. Yeah, perk up and listen. So here we go. Let me just get ready. Let's get ready and go. On our mark, get set. The questioner says, was there a principle of motivation contained within the 3 hemispheres on the bottom? Or were they just aesthetic? Or were they landing gear? Last time we left off with how higher being entered into the 3rd dimension from the 4th dimension, or from what dimensions they're coming into and visiting, making their presence known. That they know how to shift into these vibrational frequencies. And sometimes they use ships that they manipulate with frequency to move through it. Okay. I am raw. These were aesthetic and part of the system of propulsion. These hemispheres were not landing gear. The questioner says, I am sorry to ask such stupid questions, but I am trying to determine something about space, time. And remember, in the very beginning, the first book, space-time is space/time and time/space. Okay? The dimension that we are in is time. The dimension that they move through to get to our time is space. Okay? So the questioner says, I'm trying to determine something about space/time, comma, time/space, and this very difficult area of the mechanism of evolution. I think it is central to the understanding of our evolution. However, I am not sure of this, and I may be wasting my time. Could Ra comment on whether I am wasting my time on this particular investigation or whether it would be fruitful? I am Ra. Since the concept of space/time or physics and time/space or metaphysics are mechanical, they are not central to the spiritual evolution of mind, body, and spirit complex. The study of love and light is far more productive in its motion towards unity in those entities pondering such concepts. However, this material is, shall we say, of some small interest and is harmless. The questioner. I was asking these questions primarily to understand or to build a base for the attempt to get a little bit of enlightenment on the way that time/space and space/time are related to the evolution of the mind-body-spirit complex, so that I would better understand the technique of evolution. For instance, you stated the potential difference may be released and polarity changed after an entity has learned/taught the lessons of love of self. If the entity is a positive entity that has found itself in negative time-space and has had to incarnate into negative space-time. What I was trying to do was to build a base for an attempt to get a slight understanding of what you've meant by the statement that potential differences or difference may be released and polarized or polarity changed after the above step. I am very interested in knowing if placed in a negative time space, why it is necessary to incarnate into negative space time and learn/teach love of self and develop, I guess, a 6th density level of polarity before you can release the potential difference. Could you speak on that subject? I am Ra. This will be the last full query of the working. The entity which incarnates into negative space-time will not find it possible to maintain any significant positive polarity, as negativity, when pure, is a type of gravity well. Shall we say, pulling it all into it. Thus, the entity while remembering its learned and preferred polarity, must needs make use of the catalyst given and recapitulate the lessons of service to self in order to build enough polarity in order to cause the potential to occur for reversal. There is such in this line of questioning, which is somewhat mutified. May we, at this point, allow the questioner to rephrase the question or turn the direction of query toward the direction of query more towards that which is the heart of its concern. So Ra is saying, you made it so deep that you can't understand it, even though we're explaining it to you. In negative polarity, you can get the higher being can get pulled into the negative polarity so deep that the lessons that it learns doesn't automatically shift it back into a positive polarity. They have to learn the lessons. They have to learn the lessons for service to self. Over to you, Marcus.
Boom, boom. Well, I feel like we are being
Deep,
given some
huh?
keys. Oh yeah, very deep. And I feel like this is some knowledge to take very slow and observe very well. I feel like there's some really, really good golden keys in there. And oh man, you know, one of it kind of reminds me of the Emerald Tablets, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. The Emerald Tablets, Thoth talks about, you know, as the I am. And he's talking about the observer, the experiencer, as the source, I am. He speaks on just polarity, and he speaks on, you know, incarnating into the lower dimensions and remembering that we incarnate into these dimensions 100 times upon 100 times, again and again as a soul. And even outside of just the individual soul, you know, we have the collective memory field that we are also one with as well. And wow, when you really start to trigger these memories and remember these ways of energy and the ways of the universe and how it flows, it's so fascinating how you can then start, as they talk about in the Kabbalion and in alchemy and Hermeticism, they talk about how the alchemist is able to transmutate lead into gold. So that lead to gold statement can also be the speaking of mental transmutation or spiritual transmutation as well in our daily life. And with that, when you study these principles, these laws, you can come into a newfound awareness of how you can maneuver with your free will throughout this multidimensional universe. And with that, you learn about the polarities, the planes of correspondence. You know, they speak upon how the higher laws kind of take over the lower laws. And what they mean by that is the lower vibration or the lower dimensions are a continuation that expands and grows into the higher laws. And then the higher laws, vice versa, funnel down into the lower laws. And it's basically like the laws of polarity. And as I was talking about polarity earlier on Shannon's podcast, House Mama podcast, I was reading the Kabbalion about polarity and how it's talking about how although there are opposites, those opposites are still connected and they are actually one, and they are just representing different extremes, quote unquote, of vibrational frequency rate.
Yes.
And those representations are still connected. They're just different degrees of the one experiencing or experiencer. So it's so fascinating. You look at that with temperature in the physical world, hot and cold. Prime example. Hot and cold, they're not two separate things. Now, they could be balancing forces or opposing forces, but they're not separate though. That's why when you have a shower knob and you're able to turn it, and it's a single shower knob, and you turn it either to the left or you turn it to the right for hot or cold, it's still one water flow. You're just redirecting that water through a different frequency rate in order to make it hot or cold. So I'll just leave it there and I'll hand it back to you.
And guess what? I'll take it one step further. When you're turning that faucet knob, when you're turning it right or left or even to the metal, you're having an active thought that you're turning it to hot or that you're turning it to cold. You're observing what you want. And the universe says, oh, you want hot water now. Let that be so. And the water becomes hot. Now, we're not saying that the inventor of all the pipes and the hot water heater and all these things, the creation was there. The intention was there. Just like when we read in the divine design, intention was created. That polarity of intention was created. And what Ra is telling the observer is, yes, if a 6 density entity comes and takes a physical form, and it's in the learn teach position or the teach learn position or space time or it's time space, that's where it is that it has to learn. And sometimes if you're in the negative polarity, if you're in that negative polarity, that's where you've got to learn. That's where you're going to learn service to self. And the polarity, just like Marcus talks about, you're going to have the opposite. If you're in the negative polarity, then the opposite of that is getting to where there's positive or the opposite effect, so that both can be taught to you. But sometimes being in third density or this duality, it's like being in quicksand, and sometimes you get stuck there. But even if you get stuck there, Ra is telling the questioner, the entity still has to learn. And here's the thing: it can take form. It can take it can have as many physical lives as it chooses. It's not required to come back and learn through your lineage, unless it so chooses. It can begin again and start with a whole different body and birth and time period, and it can. There's many infinite There's many infinite time periods that it can be reborn into. Just because you don't see the 1700s doesn't mean that it doesn't exist in another time period. That's vibration. That's frequency. That's hertz. It decides where it wants to go and what it wants to learn. It decides whether it wants to come through time so it can move to space, and space being just consciousness, or it can decide if it wants to come through with some recall and come through a little bit of consciousness so that it can feel time. I'm going to tell you, that blew my mind when I was deep diving into the quantum information that I was getting about quantum energy and consciousness in my my Soul Awakening podcast series. And some of the deep dive that I was going through, it just, like, I thought I knew, but now I know. There's time, how we see it, how it filters through for us. And then there's space, which is all of consciousness. And consciousness or awareness is continuously happening. It doesn't stop happening until we focus on it. And that's what Ra is saying, that we have to focus on the intention that we came to learn. Our higher being put out an intention, what it wanted to come to learn. It decided whether it wanted to come through space or whether it wanted to come through time, whether it wanted to come in, learn, or teach or learn. I hope that helps. The questioner says, I will at the next session then attempt to turn more towards the heart. I was attempting in this session to get at a point that I thought was central to the evolution of spirit. And Ra, they told him that the evolution is mainly love, light, and light, love. So that's all that the questioner is saying. Okay, so the next time we start our questioning, I'll ask more about that love / light / love, because the questioner wants to know more about evolution, and they are saying that if you want to know about more evolution, it's about unconditional love, the law of one. The law of one and the law of love are the same. Go back to book 1. Okay. So the questioner says, it is sometimes very, very difficult for me to question wisely in these areas. I just ask if there's anything that we can do to enhance the contact or make the instrument more comfortable. And Ra says, I am Ra. You are doing well, my friends. We leave you in love and in the light of the one infinite creator. Go forth, therefore rejoicing and glorying in the power and in the presence of the one infinite creator, Adonai. That brings us to session 71, our episode 80. Woo, okay. And this session 71 took place September 18th, 1981. Wow. September is 9. 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. 1 plus 9 is 10. Takes you back to 1. You go back to 1. And then you got 1 and 8 and 1. Wow. I'm telling you, learning about numerology just blows my mind. It's a frequency of knowledge. I'm just saying. Okay, so the questioner says, in this session, I hope to ask several different questions to establish a point of entry into an investigation that will be fruitful. I would first ask if it is possible to increase polarity without increasing harvestability. I am Ra. The connection between polarization and harvestability is most important in third density harvest. In this density, and that's A-N, or A-N, that's the and, not and. In this density, an increase in the serving of others or the serving of self service of self will almost inevitably increase the ability of an entity to enjoy a higher intensity of light. Thus, in this density, we may say it is hardly possible to polarize without increasing the harvestability. And the questioner asks, this would probably be possible in the higher densities, such as the 5th density. Is this correct? I am Ra. In 5th density harvest, polarization has very little to do with harvestability. Because remember, in 5th density, according to the divine design, when all of this started, when Earth consciousness wanted to shift and evolve, but she wanted to do it not just in consciousness, she wanted to do it with physical form. She started at 5th density. Why? Because that's the lowest she could go without being separated from the divine, from the one true creator. That's the lowest she could go without forgetting the purpose that she created, that she was creating this for. The lowest she could go without amnesia. Right? It blows my mind, guys, how connected all these books, the Kabbalion, the Divine Design, the Raw Material, all these books, even diving into all the different books from Rhonda Byrne to Michael Beckwith to Michael Singer, right? They're all giving you blessed nuggets, seeds of growth and expansion. I'm just saying. Over to you, Marcus. I'm just saying.
Over to me. I'm over here rhyming with a puppy, and what a beautiful flow. Ra's helping us activate our potential. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a very inspiring episode, I feel like, for myself. Very inspiring in the sense of really good reminders that I've heard really over the years in different fashions through different archetypes, whether it is Thoth in the Emerald Tablets, or it's about the Hermetic principles and the laws of the universe when it comes to polarity, vibration, correspondence, free will. It's all been really intertwining a lot lately through many different facets. And I gotta say, I'm really grateful for the community connections I have in my life right now as well. And these community connections, they feel like they're unfolding very naturally and also really helping clarify and expand upon this type of knowledge and wisdom to really also build more compassionate connections as well. So, wow, I'm just I'm really humbled, just really humbled in this moment to be able to share this space and to be able to just witness and also be a vessel during this process and experience. Um, wow. Yeah, with that, I'm just going to pass it back to you.
I caught it. Pass. All right. So the questioner says, would you explain the concept of working with the unmanifested being in third density to accelerate evolution? I am Ra. This is a many-layered question, and which stray we wish to expose is questionable. Please restate. Giving any further depth of information requested if possible. It's like he says, that's like a vast ocean that you're diving into. Can you make it smaller? Can you touch on one subject of all of that deepness? Right? And the questioner says, define, please, the unmanifested being. We're about to go deep. I am Ra. We may see that you wish to pursue the deeper strata of information. We shall therefore answer in a certain way which does not exhaust the query, but is designed to move beneath the outer teachings somewhat. The unmanifested being is, as we have said, Ra is saying again, we already talked to you about this, but we're going to bring it up again. Said that being which exists and does its work without reference to or aid from other selves. To move into this concept, you may see the inevitable connection between the unmanifested self and the metaphysical or time-space analog of the space-time self. The activities of meditation, contemplation, and what may be called the internal balancing of thought and action are those activities of the unmanifested self, more closely aligned with the metaphysical self. So he's asking, what's an unmanifested being? A being that's open to learning, open to growing, open to expanding, open to shifting, opening to wisdom and understanding, open to knowledge, open to learning. This is an unmanifested being. It moves between the realms of connection between the service to self and the service to others. Not being service to others first, but maybe being service to self, trying to learn what am I trying to learn? And then as soon as I start putting some information there, I can transfer that to service to others. Growth and expansion. Right? Being reactive and being active. Sometimes you have to be reactive before you can be active. Sometimes you have to dive into the negative before you can learn the positive. It's growth. That's expansion. Sometimes you got to be an open slate. So the questioner says, as an entity goes through the death process in third density, it finds itself in time-space. It finds itself in a different set of circumstances. Would you please describe the circumstances or properties of time-space and then the process of healing of incarnative experiences that some entities encounter? And I'm going to stop it right there before I give Ra's answer, because look what he just shared with us. Can you share some information? I like it. Mama likes the information.
Yeah, so what you were just reading about with the different I guess bodies or layers of the self, it kind of brought me and led me to what I've kind of been studying and sharing a little bit in my live series, Grand Rising with Christolight, and that is the 15-dimensional time matrix of our being. So in this time matrix, they say that there is 15 dimensions in this universal time matrix that we are a part of. And they say that the first 3 are primal sound fields. So they are the all-permeating sounds that create the foundations for light, and then for material. And then dimensions 12 through 1, they say, is our 12 spherical dimensions that are part of the Christos avatar. So you have the avatar state, or the avatar body, and this avatar body is allegedly to be basically your birthed soul imprint that carries out through the eternal experiences that you go through. So this is basically your origin of your soul birth as an individual. And this avatar is kind of like your original genetic blueprint that imprints into everything that you incarnate into. So this could be like a Lyran starseed. This could be a Octurian. This could be a Pleiadian, so on and so forth. Orion. So then from the avatar, then goes down into the monad. Now the monad is what they say is dimensions 9 through 7. So then these different bodies or spheres that we're talking about the avatar, the monad, the soul, the incarnate, these are also basically densities as well. So they say there's 3 dimensions per density. So as you guys can see, they're showing lines after every 3 dimensions, creating the next density. So your highest density is the avatar. And then from the avatar, you then incarnate, or I don't want to say incarnate, you begin to assimilate into a light body. So the monad is also known as your blueprint or your Sophia crystalline light body. And this is your imprint system. This is your blueprint. This is your divine feminine mother energy that carries your wisdom and all of your coding. So then from the monad, then is the soul. Now the soul is basically the being that does like the astral traveling. It is the part of you that goes into different dimensions when you time travel, things of that nature. That is the soul. And then the soul also carries, the karmic memories. It carries the traumas, if that are things that you carry from lifetime to lifetime. So then from the soul, which is also known as your Akashic astral self, in the soul is also the energy grid. It's your light body when it comes down to the imprinting into your material form. And then you have dimensions 3 to 1. That is the 3rd dimension and below. And that is where you incarnate. So when you're incarnating, you're in at least a 3rd dimension or lower when you're incarnating. And due to how this is set up, this universal time matrix, which we all created together as one consciousness, we designed it to be able to have this ascension journey, or this ascension process, as we call it. And what this ascension process is basically, as Thoth the Atlantean would say in the Emerald Tablets, is that the I Am incarnates and it travels down the ladder to then forget to remember while traveling back up the ladder 1,000 times upon 1,000 times. And this is what the ladder is right here. It is the incarnation of descending in frequency and then ascending into frequency. And it's all at free will once you incarnate. So there's so much more that I could really touch on with this, and it all like goes into even more micro level details that make up everything within all of these, including different guides, different archetypes, different purposes, and different functionings to each one as well. But you guys can always check this out, just as I've referenced before, like last week. Go to ascensionglossary.com anytime. It's completely free, and you guys can freely study at your own free will. And of course, take it or leave it if it resonates. Back to you.
Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. For your due diligence, go and look this up. It's great he's showing it to you. But sometimes for me, I have to go and I have to, mull it over and click on things and read things, because there's going to be something that you find out that he wasn't able to share with you. And you'll dive into it and you go, shit, I didn't know that. Right? It's growth, it's expansion, it's what we're called to do. Our higher self The divine self took a journey from home. Here's the story. Take it or leave it, but the divine kind of gave it to me. He said, hey, Dad, hey, Mom, which is the one true creator. I want to go to Earth. I've heard so much about it. I want to go play there too. Don't get me wrong. The realm of absolute is really good. I've been having fun doing this, but I was told that 3D experience, that's one to do. And consciousness said, Mommy, Daddy said, okay, let's pack that backpack. Put everything you needed in your DNA. That's your backpack. Your DNA is not only about your color. It's not only about if you're born a girl or a boy. It's not only about coming from great grandmother, great grandmother, great grandmother, and grandmother, and then mother, and then you. Your DNA has notes from your higher being of what it wanted to experience when it got here. So it took a trip down from the realm of absolute. You could call it heaven. You could call it whatever you want, whatever your label is, to third density. And then think about it. You signed a disclaimer that said, I know that I'm going to have amnesia for a time. And that I know that at the time I start recalling, I'm going to start ascending. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to be on a journey. So I just get to write notebooks and notebooks upon notebooks of everything I learned here. My growth journey. I get to do it as much as I can while I'm learning so I can ascend. And then I get to ascend back with Mommy, Daddy and tell them what the journey was like. And then Mommy, Daddy says, I know, baby, I was with you while you were doing it. I saw myself in you. The divine seeks itself in expression. The divine is not limited to how many times it can do this and how many individuals it can do it with at the same time. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. I Am Ross says, to answer the questioner, although this query is difficult to answer adequately due to the limitations of your space-time, sound vibration complexes, we shall respond to the best way we can, or our ability. The hallmark of time-space is the inequity between time and space. In your space-time, the spatial orientation of material causes a tangible framework for illusion. In time-space, the inequity is upon, let me turn the page, is upon the shoulders of the property known to you as time. This property renders entities and experiences tangible or intangible in the relative sense. In your framework, each particle or core vibration moves at a velocity which approaches what you call the speed of light from the direction of supraliminal velocity. Thus, the time/space or metaphysical experience is that which is very finely tuned and, although an analog of space-time, lacking in this tangible characteristic. In these metaphysical planes, there is a great deal of what you call time, which is used to review and re-review the biases and the learned teaching of that's learn/teaching of a prior, as you would call it, space-time incarnation. The extreme fluidity of these regions makes it possible for much to be penetrated, which needs to be absorbed because of the process of healing of an entity may be accomplished. Each entity is located in a somewhat immobile state, much as you are located in space-time in a somewhat immobile state in time. In this immobile state, the entity has been placed by the form maker and higher self so that it may be in the proper configuration for learn/teaching that which it has received in the space-time incarnation. What it came to do. So space-time and time-space, they have a purpose for growth and expansion. Okay, so depending on the space-time locus, there will be certain helpers which assist in the healing process. The process involves seeing in the full experience, seeing it against the backdrop of the mind-body-spirit complex, seeing the total experience, forgiving the self for all missteps as regards to the missed guideposts during the incarnation. And finally, the careful assessment of the next necessity for learning. This is done entirely by the higher self until an entity has become conscious in space-time of the process and means of spiritual evolution, at which time the entity will consciously take part in all decisions. So your higher self, it's kind of driving, but it's not. It's seeing. Your higher self, it's seeing and manipulating without you overstepping your free will choices, because you still have your ego who is feeding you information as well. And you have that soft guide to guide you until you become aware. Till you become aware for the growth. And whether you're metaphysical or you're just in the physical, you're going to learn. The process is your higher being took your body, your form, so it could come and have an experience and learn and take form in the learning, shift and evolve in the knowledge. It's also come to maybe possibly learn and then teach. And maybe the higher being doesn't get to do the teach part and it has to come back, but it has to start the cycle over again. Whether it starts the cycle in your lineage or your generation, that's up to the soul. That's up to what it has created. If it believes that it has created a dysfunction that it wants to repair, it'll probably come back through a lineage. It'll probably come back as your great uncle whatnot in 2036 or 3031. Who knows? I'm just throwing dates out there, the time out there. It decides. Your physical form doesn't decide that. Your higher being has already put that into DNA. And each time it's finished with this body, the DNA and your karmic cycle, it ends. Your soul does not take any karma back to the realm of absolute. That cycle ends with third density. Blew my mind. Just blew my mind. Over to you, Marcus.
It's very interesting. It talks about the third dimension, and then moving out of the third dimension, you then move out of incarnation. So what's very intriguing is we have what's kind of like known as the Hall of Records. We have the Great Hall with the scale. And we also have what they say is like the afterlife. And then what I've kind of gathered, then also kind of just intuitively picked up on from what Ra's been channeling, is that there's like these law of one guardians, so to say, that kind of occupy and keep the order and the balance of the process for souls to be able to go through their reflections of their karmic and dharmic experiences, to then choose as a soul where they would like to incarnate or ascend, I guess, beyond needing to go into a third dimensional reality, and so many other options that we're just not consciously aware of in this conscious human life. And wow, I mean, that is just so refreshing, honestly, just to come across this knowledge.
It blows your mind, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It just, it blew, I'm going to tell you, it blew my mind. I believe it was in I believe it was in the first book, and they repeated it in the second book, that Ra was talking about Hitler. Everybody thinks that Hitler, when Hitler died, he went to hell. He wasn't able to merge back with the Father and go to heaven. And he said, yeah, the soul that occupied that expression called Hitler merged back with the divine. It got to, tell the divine exactly what it learned and what it didn't learn. And it did take on a lot of negative polarity. It stayed in there. That was its choice. That was its choice. It blew my mind when I found out that that not only the physical self has free will, not only that, but our higher selves have free will to choose whether they want to stay in a positive polarity or take on negative polarity. And that they found, it blew my mind to find out that they found a way around it. That they did not take, if they wanted to not merge at the seventh dimension, or that seventh layer of dimensionality where they connect and they merge back with the Father, they could, the mother father consciousness, that they could turn around and go back to the earth realm, but they didn't have to take on a physical body. Guess what? They got to be the what they call the consciousness of your story, your situation. They became, if you thought about angels, they became your angel. If you thought about a devil, they became your devil. And they got to operate in service to self only. And they pulled you in. But they knew this, that they could not operate against your free will. Once you know that they're operating and you don't want it, all you got to do is say, you got to go. And they know that they can't usurp your free will. They got to go somewhere else. They got to play they can't play in your playground. They know just about as much about energy and how to manipulate it. And once you find out that they can't manipulate you without usurping your free will, and your free will, you say, no, not here, not today, bye. I mean, you might have to do some numerology, closing circles and closing energy exchanges and whatnot. But if you know that and you step into that, they got to go. That blew my mind when and when the divine design confirmed what Ra was telling me about climbing the third and fourth and fifth dimension and sixth dimension, and going through these higher dimensions and consciousness in order to merge back with the divine, and that these higher beings had the opportunity that they could say, oh wait, we want to go back. Some of them said, no, wait, we want to help Earth consciousness. We want to go back. We want to do that again. And they got to decide how they wanted to do it. Well, we want to service to others. So they took a foreign body. And some of them said, hey, we want service to self. That was feeling really good. We like that. But we don't want to be outed out. Somebody might notice us doing it and might out us out, vibrationally. So we'll do it on the slide. We won't take a foreign body. That blew my mind. I'm just saying, that blew my mind. Over to you, Mark. Or Marcus. I just called you Mark. I'm feeling so good, but I'm looking at the time.
Yeah, I believe we are at about around the time for us to hop off. And I think this is a great place to leave off as well. Really good reflection and really good conversation to really just give us a nice reflection of this journey and this series. And it's been such a fascinating journey, just like Sandy has said. And I just couldn't be more grateful for just the opportunity and just the consistency of this wonderful space that has been co-created and able to be a sacred space for sharing these channels of Ra. And what fascinating questions as well. And, so much kudos and props to the team that put this book together and went through the experiences for us. What a beautiful journey, and what a time to be alive.
What
Thank
a
you,
time.
Sandra.
What a time. Thank you. Let us all thank Marcus for his Sacred Light production. He's put all the background together. All the beautiful art that you see in the back. All the wonderful bulletins that he's pulled up. Everything that he's been sharing with all of his cohorts in wisdom and knowledge and understanding. I mean, all of us, I know, I am so thankful and grateful that he produces Soul Awakening podcast series. This series about quantum and spiritual energy. He produces. Look at what he does for me. I told him what I wanted to do. Look at what he does for me. I told him what the vision that he had, and he offered. He said, let me produce it for you. Let me see what I can do for you. So I'm going to tell you, if you're looking for someone to produce you, just to help you get your feet wet, this is the dude. Sacred Light Production. Check him out. And if it's not anything about the production, I'm going to tell you, he's everywhere. You need some information? He's everywhere. He's on Facebook. He's on Instagram. He's on YouTube. I think he might even be working on a Spotify too, eventually. I think he's working. He's on Discord. Let's give him another hand. Thank you, Marcus.
I tell you what.
So everyone have a wonderful holiday. Okay? For me, it's not about the pilgrims. It's about being thankful. It's about being grateful. It's about, family that I don't see every day. Checking in. And we sitting around the table. Enjoying, and just enjoying. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself for me. Woo.
There you go.
Thank you so much, Marcus.
Hey, thank you. It is not the space without all the elements together that make it what it is. So thank you for being part of that. Uh-oh.
Even with
Getting a
all
little- it's getting a little slow
the
over here.
problems. It's getting slow because it's saying, say goodbye, Sandy. Goodbye. See you next Wednesday. See you next Raw. See you next Raw channel, Raw time for the Raw
That's right.
experience.
See you guys then.
Peace.
Holding some balanced love, and everybody enjoy the spirit of tomorrow and whatever fashion is for you. May you guys enjoy some good food, good time watching sports if you like sports, good time with family connection, and anything else that comes with it. One love and wholeness.